Lesson 10. Our adventures in space have been a hymn of national purpose for a half-century. The many high notes of success colored with gloomy tones of failure. But always the tune of tragedy has driven us to a harder, more precise exertions. When the grief of Columbia's explosion passes, we will be closer together and still climbing the wall of space that John F. Kennedy described 40 years ago when he sent us to the moon. As Americans, we cannot help ourselves. If we do not do these things, somebody else might. That is truly frightening, and fear still drives us. There was a sleepless night in 1957 when the Soviets put up Sputnik and drunken Russians roared and sang in front of their Washington embassy. Government science advisor Vannevar Bush sought refuge behind his closed door until he could figure out what to say about our delayed program. The gentle astronomer John Hagen supervised the design of the Vanguard's rocket, technically far superior to the Soviet boosters. It blew up on the launching pad. Lyndon Johnson, then senator, raged, how long, oh God, how long will it take us to catch up with Russia's satellites? We did catch up. We grabbed the defected East German scientist Wernher von Braun, the father of Germany's V-2 rockets, and put him to work. He put together his Redstone missiles and launched the U.S. satellite Explorer. It was poorly developed, but it sent a message. We were on the way. The Soviets then put the first man into space, Yuri Gagarin, just after Kennedy had taken office. When the news broke, the president was getting ready to throw out the first ball of the Major League Baseball season and eat a hot dog. How American. How embarrassing. That's when an angry Kennedy called in his space experts and told them he wanted to beat the Russians to the moon, and if they did not know how to do it, they should ask the janitor over at NASA. The space race was getting more complex, with men beginning to ride those dangerous rockets. But Kennedy enjoyed the challenge, and indeed the danger. So did America. JFK was a nervous man on the morning when Alan Shepard climbed into Freedom 7. Kennedy, who always doubted the technical claims of engineers and scientists, watched Shepard's launch with his hands jammed in his pockets, expecting the worst. Yet Shepard went smoothly in and out of space in 15 minutes, and he got the monkey off Kennedy's back. We marched on into space, but then real tragedy struck during Lyndon Johnson's presidency. Astronauts Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee were killed in their capsule by an internal fire. Johnson was extremely shocked. He was no stranger to failure, yet he never believed death could be associated with such a noble effort. But he did not pause long. He drove ahead and drove everybody with him. Success in space began to weigh more than the delays and frustrations. Stuck in the Vietnam War, Johnson sought solace in the space success. At one point, he muttered, "Oh, thank God, I've still got my astronauts." Years later, long out of office, Richard Nixon remembered that era and the importance of our space achievements. Nixon was president when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. "Just think," he said in that interview, "how miserable it would have been had we not had the space success when we were in the midst of Vietnam, then Watergate, and all that." When Challenger exploded as the country watched, national excitement was instantly turned into despair for those young lives lost in the first seconds of their great adventure. Reagan read a wonderful text and lifted it into immortality. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and will continue to follow them. He may have understood better than most of us that great achievement always takes a toll among those with the courage to make the journey. There is no other way for this nation.